Today's episode is about empowering optimal health and how I got to apply everything I know about healing to myself. I'm Dr. Gayle Myers, and I'm here to help you tap into your inner wisdom, your wealth of health and well-being. About me, I grew up in a medical family. My father was a small-town physician in Georgia. At the age of 7, I was reading his medical text. I worked in his office as a teenager. My life path seemed clear until I moved to Vermont at the age of 19 and fell in love with the beauty of the natural world and botany. I studied plant ecology with a passion. As I finished my master's degree in wetland ecology, I had to make a decision. Do I get a PhD or an MD? As much as I was devoted to environmental health, I knew that my life calling was medicine because I wanted to help people who were affecting the planet. You see, we're all stewards of our own health. That affects the stewardship of our planet's health. After finishing my residency in internal medicine, I moved back to Vermont to work in a small town emergency department before I started my integrative medicine practice, where I blended traditional medicine with other science-based treatments to treat the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. I've been in private practice for over 30 years. The name of my practice is Health Conscious Inc., where I help people with complex medical conditions progress from illness and pain to health and well-being. In helping others, I've had my own health journey from acute and chronic pain and have a deep understanding of what it takes to recover and thrive after trauma. Life offers us a fresh start, a new beginning every day. Most days you wake up to a new day where it seems that life is routine, but sometimes life catapults you onto a totally different landscape, like a trauma, a health crisis, the loss of a loved one, a relationship, a job, or a business. And you're thrown onto a landscape that is unfamiliar, unknown, and a total surprise, like the pandemic. For me in 2011, it was an instant change from living a life at full bore to being incapacitated and facing an unknown outcome of recovery after gratefully surviving a head-on collision and near-death experience. It was after a nor'easter, also known as a major snowstorm. I was driving on the icy Vermont interstate when a red pickup truck barreled towards my car. His front tire caught in the snow and he catapulted across the median, and I knew I was going to be hit. The first thing I did was go through my medical thinking. I didn't want to slam on the brakes in case there was someone behind me, and there was. I didn't want to veer off the highway and have a rollover accident or speed up and get T-boned. So I took my chances. I had been meditating for over 30 years. I knew how to ground to the center of the planet, a visualization tool I learned to stay present and grounded regardless of the situation. When I met my meditation teacher, Michael Tamura, in 2004, he would often remind us, practice your grounding. You never know when a Mack truck is about to hit you. Fortunately, that icy day in 2011, it was a red pickup truck, not a Mack truck, that hit me. As I drove grounded and present, my body and energy field became a golden crystalline field of light. I was pure consciousness, and I felt at peace. I survived the 105-mile-an-hour head-on collision. When the vehicles came to a stop, I realized that by the grace of God, I had survived. I knew the person I was the second before the accident and the person I was in that moment were two different people, and I could never go back, or I would just suffer. I was so grateful to be alive. Everything was new, a new beginning, a new discovery. When I first learned how to ground, I remember thinking it would have been great to have this tool in residency or when I worked in the emergency room. Instead, I got to use the grounding tool when the ambulance took me to the emergency room where I had worked 20 years before. This time, I was the patient. There are more than 900 ligaments in the human body, and every single one of mine were injured except for the ligaments in my hands and feet. I had total body whiplash, multiple disc and nerve injuries. My active life was now on complete reset. When I was discharged from the emergency department and started on my 5-year journey of incapacitating pain and disability to heal my severe trauma and PTSD, I committed to fully healing spiritually, physically, mentally, and emotionally. I was so grateful to have survived the near-death experience that I chose to drive down the road looking ahead, not in the rearview mirror, because each day is truly a gift, a new beginning. I went from living a full throttle life, practicing medicine, traveling, doing high intensity exercise, skiing, to barely being able to hold a glass of water. I had experienced chronic pain before, but never at the level of fiery, incapacitating pain that went on for 2 years. Hopefully, you've never been in a head-on collision or near-death experience, but perhaps you've been challenged with the sudden loss of a career when the pandemic hit, or your marriage or relationship ended, or the loss of colleagues or loved ones during the pandemic, or face the diagnosis of a serious disease or cancer or your child's illness. Sudden trauma comes in many forms, and we usually don't put that on our to-do list. As I journeyed into healing my trauma, I had to apply everything I knew about healing to myself because the physician was now the patient. As I rolled into the emergency room, strapped to the spinal board, through the same doors that I had greeted patients 20 years before, I thought, so this is what patients get to see, the ceiling rafters. I gained a broad perspective of what patients experience, the fear, the pain, the unrelenting fatigue, the uncertainty of recovery. As a medical doctor, I knew the chances of my full recovery weren't guaranteed. I learned what it takes to tap into my inner wisdom and resilience. The more I tapped into my inner wisdom, my internal guidance system, I was able to navigate the long road of recovery from trauma and PTSD every time I got behind the wheel of the car or was a passenger. My incapacitating pain was flooded with PTSD, which shows up mentally, physically, and emotionally. I knew if I was going to heal, I had to be all in spirit, body, mind, emotions, and attitude. With the multiple challenges life has thrown at us in the past 2.5 years, asking you to pivot on the spot again and again, you know what you've had to overcome. And I'm here to remind you how resilient you really are. So often, you forget in the midst of the ongoing challenges, and it helps to take a moment and acknowledge what is working in your life, how far you've come, and what you're grateful for. For me, I started with gratitude for being alive. Anytime I began to allow fear, anger, grief, or doom and gloom to set in, I would remind myself and shift into being grateful for being alive. I began to focus on what I could do, no matter how minimal it was, such as today I can breathe through the pain. I focused on what I could do, not what I couldn't, or what I used to be able to do. And each improvement was an incremental milestone. and an encouraging message to my body: we can heal. Since I had been a long-term meditator, what I used as my foundation for healing was meditation. Accessing my inner light and wisdom and having a loving relationship with my body became the keystone to my journey to recovery. I made a soul and body commitment to heal no matter how long it took. I had to become my biggest cheerleader and surround myself with a team of medical angels and a supportive community. I knew if I was going to heal, I had to focus on what I could do, not what I couldn't, and I had to celebrate each step along the way. Whenever anyone asked me how I was doing, I'd always answer, better. It's so easy to focus on what's not working or what's wrong or what's limiting you. But when you take a moment and you shift to what is working for you, it changes your perspective and you begin to see the possibilities. One of my biggest lessons as the doctor who was now the patient was patience. I had a lot of tools that I used at first. I proceeded to do everything I could to heal. Lots of sleep, nutritious food, no alcohol, physical therapy, biodynamic osteopathic treatment, pool physical therapy, acupuncture, and massage, until it became clear that doing everything was too much for my body. As you are on your healing journey, you've probably experienced the pressure to recover and tried to hurry up and heal, but there's an easier way. Listen to your body's messages and honor the balance of your body's needs for healing. And the key element to healing, the tincture of time. I learned healing was a journey with its own timeline that couldn't be rushed, no matter what the textbooks said. I'd been trained to work long hours, to override fatigue and pain, and just keep going. Then I realized if I was going to heal, I had to stay present to the healing of that moment, that day, and celebrate each small change. Like, oh, wow, I can walk across the room easier. As I made it through the day, I found a rhythm of listening to my body's needs. Each time I honored what my body needed, I improved, at first incrementally and then progressively faster. Listening to your body's needs is a learned skill. Since we are so driven to keep going, produce more, get there faster, but your healing journey has its own timeline. And when you listen and honor what your body needs, you'll shift into a rhythm of healing that feels more nurturing and balanced. Healing can be measured in chapters, each leading to the next. During the healing journey, there can be setbacks, and this is normal, definitely frustrating. For me, there would be discouraging setbacks where I would lose ground, sometimes for months. One day, my brilliant physical therapist reminded me, Gayle, setbacks aren't always setbacks. And I began to see a higher purpose to what I had originally considered a setback. After each setback, I experienced greater insight and perspective on the trauma. Despite the extra time it took to gain strength, a new ability was always the result, like rolling over in bed without being in excruciating pain, or being able to more easily walk up a flight of stairs, or have more stamina throughout the day. Think of a setback you've faced recently, perhaps in your health, losing stamina, or getting COVID, or a delay in your travel plans, or financially with your business, with the downturn of the market. Now reflect for a moment on the opportunity you're getting for a change up. Maybe you need more rest, and this is helping you reconnect with yourself and recharge at a deeper level. Or your travel plans changed, and instead you get to see something or someone you've been longing to see. Or you wanted to make a change in your business but didn't get around to it until this moment. Or you wouldn't take those courses, that training that now takes you into a career you're passionate about. So often we want to hurry the outcome. I know I did. During my second year of my 5-year recovery journey, I decided recovery would take as long as was necessary. As I relaxed into the healing journey for what it was teaching me, that's when I began to make accelerated progress. Is patience one of your attributes? Take a moment and pause. Validate that you're here in this moment and you are healing. If I were to go back to my injured self after surviving a near-death experience, I would tell her, this too shall pass. You've been catapulted into an evolutionary process that will bring you to a higher level and make you stronger and more resilient. I would tell her to listen to your inner guidance, your inner GPS. The more you trust it, the more you tap into your inner resources, the more you'll heal and grow into the most capable version of yourself. Ask for help. The universe is waiting to bring you everything you need, and everyone who is here to help you becomes your team of angels. I would remind her to validate each step along the way. It's a process, and setbacks aren't always setbacks, just moments to pause and redirect with more wisdom for a better outcome. Gratitude will reinforce what's working, healing, and improving. Gratitude sends positive messages to the brain and floods the body with healing hormones, endorphins, to expedite healing. Gratitude changes your mindset. It decreases inflammation and rewires the brain, improves your mood and heart health, and makes space for you to receive more of what you need. The more I focused on my health and well-being, the easier it was to keep a positive mindset and the vision of a full recovery. And gratefully, I am here with you today, fully recovered and rejoicing and living. The power of gratitude and having a positive attitude are essential not only to recovery, but to living every day a health-conscious life. I'm here to help you tap into your inner wisdom, your wealth of health. As you tune into your inner wisdom to support your wellness and well-being, remember, when your fountain is full to overflowing, others can drink from your fountain without you being depleted.